Marcus has worked in the imperial treasury for 42 years. This morning, as he reads the ledger, his hands tremble. Numbers never lie. The emperor's spending has, once again, exceeded revenues. But the people already know this. Every morning, when even their dogs cannot eat meat, they sing songs about the lavish banquets in the palace. Marcus turns the stone tablet over. Only one word is written on it: beginning. The sound of collapse is silent. No one hears the beginning of the end. On the day the Roman Empire fell, no one in the streets shouted, "The empire is collapsing." The Ottoman Empire's final days appeared, to the outside world, to still be a great power. The most important thing history teaches us is this: powerful-looking systems do not collapse suddenly, they collapse silently. Every empire is built on currency. Currency is the symbol of trust. Rome's denarius once contained pure silver. The world bowed before it. But when emperors concerned themselves with war and grandeur, the value of the currency began to fall. In the first stage, people do not notice. Money is still money. Shops still exist. But one day, someone does the math and realizes, for the same price, you can now buy half as many beans. The same thing happened in the Ottoman Empire. When the akçe lost its value, what did they do? They minted more akçe. This is not the first irrationality, it is the beginning of a vicious cycle. Marcus writes clearly in his ledger, "No gold remains in the treasury. 40% of the currency is copper alloy. Public confidence has fallen, yet official statements call this a temporary period." In history, this stage appears like this. Rome's denarius lost half its silver content by the 3rd century. The Ottoman akçe began losing value in the 1600s. The Soviet ruble experienced a similar collapse in the 1980s. Spain faced inflation when New World silver flooded the market and diminished currency value. When the monetary system collapses, the most dangerous step is taken. The empire begins to borrow. At first, this seems reasonable. Wars must be won, cities must be built, morale must be maintained. We print money, we borrow, things are going well, markets still function, people still buy. But now the empire shifts from a production economy to a consumption economy. Aesthetics and display matter more than exports. Imports increase. At this point, the system has taken a mortal wound. You are getting money from outside, but producing no value inside. This is when the empire begins to devour itself. In the Han Dynasty, the Silk Road trade brought no profit. The profit went to consumption at home. Lands were not cultivated. Agriculture could not compete, so prices rose. The people ate less. In history, this stage appears like this. England was prosperous through industrial production in the 18th century, but when it shifted to a consumption economy in the 20th century, its power began to weaken. France borrowed to build and maintain Versailles, and by 1789 the economy had collapsed. The Soviet Union borrowed for military spending while its people starved for lack of consumer goods. The United States became too dependent on a consumption economy before the 2008 crisis. It is curious. In history, people rarely rebel because of hunger. Hunger usually begins regionally. One province loses its harvest. The capital thrives while other places fall apart. Taxes rise. People eat less. But here lies an important psychology. The purchasing power of the people falls silently. It is difficult to notice because it does not happen week by week, but month by month, year by year. A loaf of bread that a father could buy 40 years ago now costs twice as much, but his salary has only increased by 20%. Year after year, each family's table has a little less. Social mobility stops. Young people, seeing no better future,
do not become farmers or soldiers or craftspeople. Society slowly but inevitably becomes frozen. In history, this stage appears like this. The purchasing power of Rome's people fell by 60% in the 3rd and 4th centuries. In 19th century Ottoman lands, when peasants' taxes rose, the people fell into famine. In the 1980s, the Soviet Union rationed bread and meat. In Britain, workers' wages fell with inflation. In 1780s France, bad harvests cut people's purchasing power by 40%. The empire reaches a paradoxical point. The center, the capital, the palace, the generals, the bureaucracy, increases its power. Justice, taxes, and decisions must flow from the center. Yet strangely, this power has no effect. Why? Because the periphery has already collapsed. Distant provinces begin to fend for themselves. Tax collectors take bribes. Soldiers demand payment from the capital. Provincial governors arm themselves for independence. In Rome's final days, consuls rain orders from Rome, but proconsuls in Africa ignore them. In the Ottoman Empire, the central government issues commands, but pashas in the provinces raise their own armies. No one openly rebels, but no one truly obeys either. In history, this stage appears like this. In the Ottoman Empire's final days, Egypt, Syria, and the Balkans began to act independently. In the Soviet Union, no republic obeyed Moscow's orders after Gorbachev's perestroika. In Rome, regional warlords in the 3rd century ignored the center. In Britain, when India and Egypt began to seek independence in the 20th century, central power became insufficient. Spain could not control its colonies and was defeated by America in 1898. The final stage is usually the fastest, but only in appearance, because the system died in the previous 4 stages. In the 5th stage, only the body is being buried. A catastrophe occurs, an attack, an external threat, a natural disaster, or a simple spark. Then the system suddenly crumbles like dust. History teachers call this the fall of the empire, but the true fall happened 5 or 10 years earlier. Only ledgers and observant eyes knew this. In history, this stage appears like this. Rome was sacked by the Visigoths in 410, officially the end, but the system died 200 years before. The Ottoman Empire formally ended in 1922, but it had been dying since the mid-19th century. The Soviet Union collapsed in 1991, but by the late 1980s, its economic system was already non-functional. Britain lost power in the 1956 Suez Crisis, but it ceased to be a great power after 1945. France was defeated by Germany in 1940, but economic collapse began in the 1930s depression. Spain lost its status as a world power when defeated by America in 1898, but the decline that led to this began in the 17th and 18th centuries. Marcus closes the empire's ledger. He holds only stone tablets. 50 years later, historians will find them and think, aha, here are the preserved signs. Why did no one read this ledger? But no one read it, because people were afraid, because the government kept the truth from their ears, because everyone, somehow, wanted to believe this is temporary. History, in this way, is a bad copyist. The same patterns, the same stages, different countries, different centuries. The collapse of the monetary system, the shift to consumption economy, the silent fall in purchasing power, the center's power becoming ineffective, the final collapse. Empires do not fall suddenly, they fall step by step. And those who first notice this fall are usually those who keep ledgers and read numbers. But ledgers are only warnings. Societies usually do not heed the warning. This is why, when we look back at history, the collapse seems surprising. but the signs were always there.